It was the bark heard around the world, or at least around Cochise County here. A bark from a dog and a bark from, I guess you could say, the man right in front of you here, Mr. Brett Allen. Some of you may recall a live broadcast that Brett did back in January focusing on barking dogs by one of his neighbors here in Sierra Vista that was done out of emotion, basically, rather than objective news reporting. That caused a number of negative comments. And in fact, this is one of the negative comments that was on our own reviews page, as well as a few others. Brett took some time off after that, and now is back to address that and other issues in his life that have come up as he makes a return here to Coolfmlive. Brett, thank you for joining me today.
Hey, Todd. Yeah, thanks for having me, and it's nice to be able to address that issue and be returning to Cool FM. There's been a lot of things that have happened since then, Todd, and I know that that was some first of all, I want to kind of just address that report that was done indeed on emotion. It wasn't done in an objective way, as I should have done that. And I want to apologize first off to my neighbor. That was someone that's not a direct neighbor, but they're on the same block that they're kind of on the back side of from my house down a few houses. But I just wasn't being a good neighbor on top of being a good reporter, and I just want to I want to apologize to those neighbors. I don't even know their names, but I want to apologize by saying I should have came up to them personally, not on camera. In retrospect, looking back on it, I was going through a lot of emotions at that time, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But not that it's an excuse, but and that's why I wanted to make I did something that was very public, that was not in good taste. It wasn't in a good reporting style or being a good neighbor. And so I appreciate the opportunity to go public with this apology, because I owe that to my neighbor. And I'm sorry, I should have came up to you just privately, knocked on the door. Hey, I hear your dog's barking. Is there a problem? Is there something I can do?
You had just gone through, just a few weeks prior, losing your own dog. You have two dogs.
Right, I did, yeah, and that was a shock, and it's kind of interesting. Winston was a rescue chow chow that I've had since 2015. Got him. He was young. He was full grown. I ended up getting another dog about 3 weeks later, Hannah, and she was also. She's a rescue, and she was in Maricopa. There's somebody standing outside, but anyway, just waving. And so I got those two as fosters. I ended up keeping them, and back in May of last year, just to kind of back up before all of this, I had gotten a diagnosis, a terminal diagnosis of what's called interstitial lung disease. Pulmonary fibrosis is the old term for that. And it's basically a lung disease that your lungs over time dry up, and they stop working. And on, the average for someone that gets diagnosed with that, the average lifespan is about 3 to 5 years. There's no cure, there's no known cause even for it. But, and at the same time, Winston had just gotten a test done. He was on, chows have a history of hip dysplasia, hip issues, and he had that. He had been on pain medication for some time, carprofen, as my vet put it, they said it's not a matter of if, but when a dog will develop problems with their kidneys or liver, different issues if they're on this painkiller for too long. And so from time to time, we would do liver tests with him to make sure that he was okay. And he came back with a really bad test result. We switched his pain medication from that to a shot once a month, Librela. And so that was concerning. His levels were twice of what they should have been on the high end. And And so we both kind of ended up with, with some issues. And then fast forward to Christmas time.
Christmas Day, he actually passed away.
He did. I had to take him up to the VCA on Houghton Road. It's a newer 24-hour emergency vet clinic, and I had to say goodbye to him at 6:30 in the morning on Christmas morning. It was horrible. I had done actually a report on Christmas lights in the neighborhood earlier that Christmas Eve, and came home. He was pacing around in the backyard. I've got a doggy door so he can come and go, and he was pacing around, obviously in great discomfort. I noticed his stomach looked extended. It was tight like a basketball, and he got a twisted stomach. It's something that is a real danger for large breed, deep-chested, older dogs like a Chow or a German Shepherd or a Pit Bull, any kind of big dog. They are at risk of that, and there's really not much that can be done, sadly. Surgery is the only option, and when I got him up there, they said he's probably not going to make it due to his age. So anyway, I found out the news. So he had a test, another liver test done, just prior to, like on Friday, I believe it was, prior to whatever the 23rd of December. So that would have been 21st, 20th. And I got a call from the vet on Monday, the 23rd, saying that his test, his high end, like doubled again. So even taking him off that pain medication for about 6 months, he still had some issues. And one of the main concerns was cancer, or that he had either with his liver or gallbladder, I think might have been another possibility. But and so in the back of my mind, I was, thinking, how much time do I have with Winston? 6 months? How long could this be? And it turned out I had a little over a day. And then shortly after that, about a month later, I found out that I had stage 4 lung cancer. So I was looking at thinking, well, maybe I have 3 to 5 years. And now all of a sudden I'm looking at maybe it's 3 to 5 months. Similar to what I was dealing with Winston. So it's interesting that life has a funny way of unfolding sometimes. And I found it interesting that, with Winston, I'm thinking, how much time do I have with him? I guess I was thinking prior to him even having any diagnosis with any liver issues, was that he was just getting older and his hips were bad. And I was wondering how much longer I did have with Winston, just period, because he was just having a harder time getting around. And
well, how old was he?
I had him for 9.5 years.
Yeah.
And so he was a rescue. He was full grown. So I would say he was probably around 11 and a half.
Yeah.
Something like that, maybe 12. So anyway, so there was a lot that transpired, a lot of stuff going on. And I don't want to make this into an excuse. I think, though, that traditionally, most of the time, that's not the kind of reporting that I've done in the past. And I think sometimes when I'm under stress, I have to be honest, I think that sometimes I tend to get a little more edgy. And my poor neighbors ended up, with me going off and kind of losing it, basically. And so, but there's just been, I think what I want to do, Todd, coming back to Cool FM, is to not just apologize, but to also take some bad things that life can throw at us that we all deal with in different ways. We don't all deal with lung cancer. We don't all deal with lung disease, but we all deal with some pretty bad stuff from time to time. I mean, that's just a part of life. And I think what I would like to see from all of this is to find some positive stuff, because there really is some positive stuff. It's funny when you're faced with end of life, potentially anyway, end of life stuff. I mean, things can happen. There's miracles that happen all the time. There's people that go into with cancer, for instance. With my particular case, you have people that the cancer will go into remission, and it just kind of stops, and life can go on for years after that. There's people that get cured. So miracles do happen. And sadly, there's a lot of people that die from it too. There's all those kind of things. But there's people, we all die eventually, and we'll all die of something. But there's a lot of people in our community that go through a lot of stuff, because as I go to, now you may notice, my hair is thinning. My mustache.
You started the treatments, the cancer treatment, what was it, last week or the week before? I can't remember.
It was actually, I have my second treatment coming up Tuesday, which is 21 days after the first. So the first one was on the 11th the 11th of March. And so now I have one coming up Tuesday, the second one. And it's chemotherapy and immunotherapy. They are still trying to narrow down what kind of cancer exactly that I have. I didn't realize, but there's over 200 different kinds of cancer, as it turns out. There's a lot that you learn when you go through this sort of thing. And it's allowed me to really empathize with people that go through. I mean, my gosh, I spent a couple of weeks, over 2 weeks in the hospital. I still have a drain, actually. I have fluid.
Yeah. Actually, you want to show a little bit of that? I don't know if folks can see it. Well, maybe you don't want to show that, but I was visiting you over at Canyon Vista, because you were over at Canyon Vista Medical Center there for the first phase of this.
About 10 days, yeah.
About 10 days when I visited you over there. And you actually, by the way, had a good experience over there. I know you wanted to mention that.
The staff was great, yeah. I really did. I think the staff was very accommodating. I know a lot of people have issues with the local hospital. I mean, that's just a fact, a reality. And personally, my experience was actually pretty good. I mean, I have to say that I feel much more comfortable, because you just hear things. And even in the media, we probably are privy to a little more information than most, but still, we hear things from people. We hear stuff that isn't always positive. And granted, people that go to hospitals, you're not going there feeling your best. You're going to go there, you're going to a hospital because you're not feeling your best. And so I think sometimes we can be more negative when we're not feeling our best, and maybe that's a part of it. I don't know, but no, I appreciate the care that I got at Canyon Vista, and I appreciate and thank you all for all the nurses and all of the staff, doctors that I met there. I appreciate you, and thank you very much for everything. And I've also had some great experience. I mean, I've been dealing with a lot with Sarah locally, Southern Arizona Radiology Associates. They've been great to do a lot of X-rays. In fact, they drained fluid out of my left lung, or around the lung. I've done some. I was just over there for a PET scan, actually, that I had, which came out very positive. No spread anywhere else.
Yeah, you just found that out a couple days ago.
I did.
The PET scan. So that at least was some positive news for a change, because you had nothing but negative.
It was, and that was courtesy of Eileen Colston. She's a nurse practitioner here in town. I think she does an excellent job. So thanks, nurse practitioner Colston, for your great work that you do and your staff. So she let me know about that. In fact, a lot of times I'll hear from her after hours. She's amazing. And so I really appreciate her and her expertise. But I wanted to come out and see if we can't do something, do a series. And Todd and I, we were talking a little bit about what a good name might be for that. And I think we came up with some good ideas. One of them that I think we might go with here is Incredible Stories of Hope. And because, where I go, Southern Arizona Cancer Care here in town, that is packed. There are people in there, sadly, that they're dealing with cancer. And there is a lot of people here that are dealing with that. I think there might be a breast cancer support group in town, but I think that's about it that they're aware of anyway. And so What I would like to do is to encourage you, if you have a story of inspiration, maybe you've battled cancer, maybe you've battled depression. It doesn't have to be maybe, the same thing that I have, but if it's something that you've dealt with that's life-threatening, that was a very serious situation, please reach out and let us know. I'd like to hear from you and see if we can't maybe get your story, if you'd be willing to share with us, because I like to do stories about our community, about folks in our community that are dealing with really tough stuff, that are overcoming those things, or that have overcome their tough situations. So I think this is an opportunity for me to can dive into that aspect, something that I've never been, personally been exposed to before, but or had a lot of knowledge about. And so I want to take that and try to make a positive impact by sharing with people that there is hope. And, positive attitudes, that is so important to deal with anything in life, whether it's a huge medical issue or whether it's just something that has to do with our relationships with one another, whether it's a work issue, whatever we're dealing with when it comes to a problem, there is hope. And a lot of times we can find that hope with how we go about dealing with our problems. Me, I have faith. I have faith in God. I believe God can do anything. I really do. I don't think that we're here through evolution. I don't see. I mean, I look at Junior, my hummingbird, in the back, and I'm thinking, how can something like that evolve? Yeah, it's just, for me personally, anyway, I believe there's a God, there's a Creator. And I believe there's hope because of that, because if we have a Creator that's that intentional about everything, I think it's something that we can embrace and really find some comfort in, and that has helped me a lot. And I know that people in general, even if you don't believe in God, but if you have a positive outlook, that's going to help. And so to me, I don't know how I could have a positive outlook without God, but some people do. And it's just, I think the important thing is that we move forward and make the most of the short life that we have. And let's face it, even if we live to be 100, that's short. That's not a lot of time, it seems like. And I know the older I get, it seems like the time just seems to go even faster and faster. And but anyway, so yeah, Todd, that's kind of, and I know that's something that you've done. We've known each other for a long time.
Yeah, a lot of people may not know this, but we've known each other since, when did we first meet? In 1994?
92?
92?
I think so.
Back up in Duluth, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Radio station. I was working up there, 96 Light FM and KDAL AM and FM radio.
I was on the KDAL AM.
And you were on the AM, yeah. And I was on the FM, 96 Light FM at the time. And that's how we met. And we've known each other this long, off and on. And we did a radio show together, a crazy radio show together, to say the least, on the alternative rock station at the time. That was in the late 90s.
1999.
Yes. It was called The Chitlins, with Todd Ball and the Loose Man. Now, folks, when you saw him go off in January, you understand now why he had the nickname The Loose Man.
I was much more like that on a more regular basis back then.
Yeah.
And indeed, yeah.
Well, that's how I ended up here in Sierra Vista, was because of you, because you kind of sort of inherited or took over a house from your parents, who used to live here. They retired here in Sierra Vista. Mm-hmm. And so then I came down here, and we were going to launch a radio show together at the time.
Right.
It never happened, but
there wasn't any opportunity at the time.
Yeah.
For that.
And there were other things that were going on during that time. You were battling some of your own issues as well, alcoholism, and you actually, I had to leave, and I went back and I left the area. And you ended up coming to a new point in life at that point as well, thanks to God as well. And you are now, and you became, sober.
That's right. Actually, that's a miracle. That's why I believe in miracles, because that's something that God took away from me. He just took it away. The desire to drink.
And I couldn't believe when I heard this, by the way, folks. I mean,
No, I drank a lot before. I did. I was functional. I could still work.
Yeah,
but I would usually drink in the evening. I mean,
you were one of the functioning alcoholics,
right,
at the time. And,
right.
But you were the kind of alcoholic that the more you drank, you were one of those nasty alcoholics. Well, that's why I left. But but at any rate, the important thing is that after I left, you came to terms with your alcoholism finally for the first time in your life.
I did, and and it's just like one day I just, because I would drink pretty much every day. I might take a day off a month, maybe at the most.
Yeah.
But I was like drinking every day and a lot. I drink a lot.
Oh yeah.
And I had a pretty high tolerance. I mean, I could drink a lot, but it wasn't favorable though. I mean, not that that was some sort of benefit, really. I mean, it wasn't. And because you're right. I mean, there was certainly, some nasty sides of me that would come out when I was drinking. I could
right, absolutely. It was like literally the devil came out of you the more you drank.
Sometimes, yeah.
At times,
and it wasn't all the time, but it was, but that was, it was not. I always, in my mind, I always viewed, okay, a person that can't stop drinking or smoking or whatever is just weak-minded, and if you really dive in, you can do it. Well, I realized that I couldn't, because I did try, and I was like, and I realized, I can't stop myself. And so I realized it's not weak-minded, that there are true addictions that can seem very insurmountable. And I really felt that I was getting to the end of my rope. And one day I didn't feel like drinking. The next day I didn't feel like drinking, and one day led to the next. And then some friends of mine that I had met at the dog park, actually taking my dog out to the park. Actually, it was the Veterans Park, but we would meet there, and a loose group of folks that had dogs would kind of end up hanging out there in the afternoon. And they invited me to go to their church, and I'd always believed in God, but I just kind of hadn't really been into living that kind of life, but I thought, yeah, why not? And so I went to church. I felt this draw that was stronger toward God than I had in a long time, since I was a kid, basically. And I just was really drawn back to God, and He took that away from me. In fact, I mean, just now I'm drinking beer, but it's non-alcoholic. It's ginger beer. They call it beer when they add more ginger. Normally it would be ginger ale, but if you take ginger ale and they just add more ginger to it, the name then becomes, they call that ginger beer. But it's the hospital got me hooked on this. Thanks, Kenny, this for I knew ginger addiction, but it's healthy. Ginger's good for you, by the way. Not so much probably the sugar that's in it, but oh well. But anyway, so back though to the alcohol, and so anytime I think about drinking, and I know that with that report that I did, it looked like because I did just get up out of bed, I had a hat on, I took it off. I can see where people might have thought that I had been drinking all night or something. I hadn't been. I was kind of acting that way, I guess, but no, I haven't drank since that was 2016. July 24th, 2016, right around in there. It was, I think, the 24th of July, the best I can recall.
That was when you put down the bottle and you stopped cold turkey, so to speak. It was...
Yeah, I just didn't go back, to it. That desire just never came back. And just to think about drinking alcohol, it gives me shivers, the shivers down your spine. And that's how... And I just have never had any kind of temptation. Even going through all of this stuff lately is not. I mean, I have to be honest. I mean, I thought maybe grabbing a bottle of booze and guzzling it down would help, and then I quickly realized that, first of all, that doesn't sound good to me at all. And if I've already been cured of that, I don't want to bring back another problem on top of what I have. So So it hasn't, I mean, I've thought, those thoughts have come into my mind briefly, but
Sure.
it hasn't been a temptation at all. And so, and I quickly rule it out. And so, no, it's been, God has been a big part of helping me through, that in my past. And then I quit smoking. I smoked cigarettes. I
Yeah,
quit
you
that.
were like a pack-a-day smoker for a long time.
Right, I was, yeah. And so
And you quit that as well, cold turkey-ish.
that was cold turkey. That took a little more. I think God just says, okay, you're gonna have to do some more heavy lifting on this one. You got off easy with the drinking one, and so I did have to kind of bite the bullet on that. But it was the first time that I was ever successful at quitting, and so God did help me. But I had to kind of. I had to white knuckle it for sure. I used the patch actually. I'd always heard that was bad, and it
Did it
work
actually?
very well.
So did that help you?
It did. It helped because when you quit smoking, at least for me, it's like being on a roller coaster. One minute you feel great. Oh, I just feel great. I don't need to smoke. The next minute you're just like a fiend. Just want to smoke a cigarette so bad, and it's like up and down like that. With the patch, it evens that out. It's kind of like releases nicotine over time, and I felt that really actually took the edge off of the roller coaster thing. And then it has steps where you start with, it has more nicotine. You do that for 2 weeks, and you go to a lower level nicotine and a lower still.
Yeah.
And I used, I think, 1-800-QUIT smoking or something like that. They'll send you. That's a government thing, typical government. And it was cool while it lasted, but so they have someone that calls up once a week. How you doing? And it was nice to have that. And they send you out your choice of lozenges, gum, or what was the other thing? The patch. And so I chose the patch, and they send you out like the first 6 weeks of it, but then you got to come up with the other 2 stages. So just keep that in mind if you go with them. So, but it was a help, and I recommend, starting that way. If you are a smoker and want to quit, you can do it. You can certainly do that, and you can quit drinking too. There's hope with whatever it is you're dealing with. I've been through quite a bit myself, and I'm still alive, and I've seen a miracle or two in my life. And I know that it's possible for you too. And so, but yeah, Todd, this is, it's been a wild ride. And I just think that, and I've been impressed with you too, Todd. You've come a long way here. You came out and visited, then you came back and you started up, I know reluctantly, you wanted to do traditional radio, which I get, you started up a Facebook page, and you just kept going at it and kept going, and you built up something really big and something impressive. I'm very, very impressed and very proud that that you have done what you've done. And go ahead.
Yeah, I tried to get a job here, as you know, a number of times at the local radio stations, and it just didn't. They didn't want me.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, so I guess it was
very cool. They didn't even listen to an air check, did they? It's like, no, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
No, not interested.
And so then I thought, well, I'll just, with technology today, I could start my own online station, and that's what I did. And then, of course, we started the Facebook page, and then the Facebook page took off more than the actual online radio station. But and here we are.
And
today.
now you're dabbling in.
Well, now we actually have a real radio
Right.
station, yeah. And although it can't be heard too well in service, but we're working on it.
If you have a digital receiver,
if
it's
you
not
have
a problem.
digitally at 97.7, we're channel 2. And you can, if you got a good car radio, you can hear us fairly well at 104.1. And of course, you can listen to us online at coolfmonline.com. Enough about me. You right now are in the biggest battle of your life. You're in the fight for your life. You have stage 4 lung cancer. What was it like when you heard that? Because I can't even imagine.
I guess I've always been a person that can kind of handle bad news, and then you kind of let it sink in later on. You just, you don't fall apart initially. It's later on generally. And, but, I don't know whether it's still, so Eileen told me, the results. In fact, when I mentioned that at Sarah, Southern Arizona Radiology Associates, that they had drained there was fluid building up. I was having a hard time breathing. In fact, after Christmas, I'd gotten sick as well. I had double pneumonia. It turns out that was part of the cancer issue.
Yeah, you didn't know at the time that
No.
how bad that it was actually cancer that was causing this
Thought it was
problem.
pneumonia.
You thought it was just regular, like COVID or no, like you said, pneumonia.
Right. I'd gotten sick mid-December, and then around the first of the year, I was kind of getting over the symptoms of whatever I had, and I was having a hard time breathing, and happened to have a friend that she. Her dad passed away from this lung disease. I told her about it. I hadn't told many people about the lung disease, so that was something that nobody really knew about it. I think Todd, you did, but there was a few people since May that I had told about that. But it really wasn't until a lady, at church that came out and said that she had that, and she had been diagnosed with that, by the way, in '97. And so when I say the average lifespan is 3 to 5 years, that's what it is. But look, she's a lady of faith, and she's still doing quite well. I mean, she's, has, it's not smooth sailing, but she is very active. And that's been how long since '97? I mean, that's a long time. That's a lot longer, than the 3 to 5 years. But anyway, I guess back to your question, well, I'll just finish up. I was having a hard time breathing. So my friend that her dad passed away said that, prednisone can help breathing, and, that maybe is something you wanted to do, because actually, Eileen Colston, my PCP, she was closed. She closes the last week of each year. And so I thought I'll run down to Naco and just get some stuff we here near the border. We can run down and go right to Mexico and pick up some things sometimes. And so I got some I got some prednisone, and I got a Z-Pack, thinking that it was, a lot of pneumonia is bacterial. And so I got that and started taking that. And then anyway, ended up running some tests. I had an X-ray done. That's when a spot showed up on my lung, and they saw that there was fluid building up, but they thought that was pneumonia, double pneumonia, and so I had to go and get that fluid drained out. They put a needle into my back, into the area right near my lung, and they drained out like 1.6 liters of fluid, which looked like really good apple cider. Actually, it looked like it was about that color, and it's a weird thing in the medical. You get to see all these weird, really nasty things, and to me, I try to put a positive twist. Oh, that looks like apple cider. Yeah, really good apple cider, I'm sure. But I'm not going to take a sip. But anyway, so they drained that off, and then what landed me in Canyon Vista was there was fluid building up around my heart, as it turns out, too. And so when they drained that off, I could breathe better for about a week, but then I'm back to not breathing again, or not feeling like I'm getting the right air. I mean, I felt it was very similar in the sense of just not getting my breath, but it was a little different. And it turns out it was fluid around my heart this time that was keeping my heart from expanding fully and contracting fully. And so I wasn't getting as much oxygen. My heart rate was like way up, over 100 beats a minute, and so I had an echocardiogram done. Thanks to Eileen, she got me in right away. When she found out that I had cancer, she said, "Well, let's get you into the oncologist here, and get you into a cardiologist who was right across from the cancer office at that new heart and vascular center that just opened at Wilcox and Coronado." And I went over there, and he said, we're going to have a little rendezvous down at the emergency room, and we're going to do a procedure and get that liquid off your heart, because this is not good. And they took a liter of fluid from around my heart off later that day. And so, well, I ended up, and that was a Wednesday, February 5th. On the 7th, they did a biopsy on the lung mass. That caused a leak in my lung. That was on a Friday around between 5 and 6. They did that. Later on, by about 3 in the morning on Saturday morning, they had to call in an emergency surgeon that was on call to stick a hose into my side and into the lung sac around the lung to drain fluid out because it was building up all the fluid quickly. And so ended up with that. That was quite the experience, I will say. But not in a good way, mind you. But
and that delayed your actual cancer treatments.
It did, because they wanted to get me. Because as it turns out, what was causing the fluid was the cancer, creating lymphatic fluid to, the lymph system is trying to fight the cancer, and so it's creating all this fluid and it's building up, and since it's in my lung, that's kind of where, and the heart is very close to the left lung in particular. The fluid was just building up around both my lung and my heart. So, and so the idea is then to treat the cancer so that fluid will stop being produced. And so that has not happened yet. I'm still dealing with fluid around the heart. They put in, and there's a drain. I've got this hose that's sticking out of my chest, and it runs down to a little. It's basically, the best way I can describe it is like a turkey baster. Those things with the big squeezy ball at the only it's clear, so you can see the fluid level in it. So it just basically drains into that, and I have to empty it. Every depending on how it kind of fluctuates on how quickly it builds up. But like one day recently, I got rid of 700 milliliters. So that's almost up to, an emergency level that I had to have drained. So it's good that I have this drain, but that first treatment has not stopped the lymphatic system from creating all this fluid that's building up. So the hope is that after another treatment or two, that it will cause the cancer to stop being, as aggressive, and so that's what I'm praying for, praying that will happen. So I went through my first chemo and immunotherapy. I was fortunate; I did not lose my appetite. In fact, I'm gaining weight.
Which is a little unusual, isn't it? I mean,
it is unusual from what I understand.
So I guess that's at least a positive.
So that's a positive. Yeah, I have not lost my appetite. My hair, I'm starting to lose. My mustache is getting thin. But I think,
and your hair really only started, because I saw you a few days ago, and it's really started to come out more in the last couple of days.
Oh, big time. Yeah. In fact, just showering yesterday, for whatever reason, that was the day, and just
all started coming out.
Bar of soap just filled with hair. It always bothers me when there's one hair on a bar of soap. So this was like hair all over the bar, and just all over the shower and just coming out. And so I'm getting that. I'm losing the hair. When you mentioned the Chitlin show, Todd, but one of the things that we used to talk about as wigs. We're always I'm not sure why that was always a thing with wigs.
Well, you had a character based on Andy Rooney.
Oh, that's right. There was an advertiser.
Andy's House of Wigs.
We didn't have a lot of advertisers when we started the Chitlin show.
We didn't have hardly any advertisers, so we created a lot of fake advertisers.
We did.
And one of the fake advertisers was called Andy's House of Wigs.
Do you want me to give you a little?
No, if you want.
And this was radio, so this is video.
Well, yeah, this is
everyone.
Right.
But this was not originally done with a video camera anywhere close, thankfully. But hi, I'm Andy. Welcome to Andy's House of Wigs. You know what really gets me? And this is only for people that are older that get this, I think. I mean, the voice is a little weird anyway.
Andy Rooney from 60 Minutes fame, a spinoff of that.
Was the idea, yeah. And so we had Andy's House of Wigs. We have a big wig sale going on right now. But you know what really gets me? And then he would go on to a rant that had nothing to do with the wigs.
Exactly, yes.
So that was just a big sponsor that we had in the past, and so I've always had a fondness ever since then for those that.
Now we have the Butterfly Club. By the way, we'll have to get in touch with Wilma. I'm meeting with her tomorrow afternoon. So if you do need a wig, the Butterfly Club and Wilma will be able to supply. We can probably try to fit you with a wig at some point.
I've always wondered what
male and female wigs they have.
I prefer male.
At least I think, anyway.
And so I think I would look much better in male wigs, I guess. I've never, but I mean, I mean, I'm not, let's have some fun with this. If I'm going to lose my hair, I want to have some fun with it. I don't want to just like wear a typical wig all the time. Maybe one of the things that we could do is each time I do a report, because I mean, I'm thinking if I lose all my hair, just get rid of all the hair, I could get like a stick-on mohawk, right? Isn't that how I mean, because that's not a real wig. I mean, you just have a mohawk. That's just one. So that'd be, I would think,
I don't know. I don't know
right?
if Wilma at the Butterfly Club has a wig like that, but we could ask her. Maybe she could help create one. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe we'll have to. If anybody has some ideas about wigs, you'd like to donate a wig, or we could try. There's a lot of because with the I used to have an office in Hollywood, by the way, with the travel show. That's something else that I've done for a long time. Official Best of America, and one thing about Hollywood Boulevard you wouldn't expect is there's a lot of wig shops.
Yeah, I was surprised too, actually, when I came and visited you one day, or for a week a number of years back.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe how many
a lot of wig shops,
wig places.
Like, how does that have to do with Hollywood? But I guess it does in some way. But there are a lot of different wigs. I learned from just being around that area for a while that there are a lot of different wigs. So maybe I can try some different wigs, see if I look better. As I grow fatter. But anyway, we'll just have to see, I guess, how things go. But I'm gonna, let's try to make the most of this. But yeah, the hair is going. It's starting real quickly. So I don't know how much longer. So you may see me in a hat or a wig as we move forward on doing some reporting.
And like if folks are just joining us right now, you want to come back on Cool FM Live here with positive features.
Right.
And the name of the feature that you came up with was
Incredible Stories of Hope. And folks, if you have a different name you think of, by all means, we'd love to hear from you. But I want to start doing some stories of hope. And I know Todd, when you started Cool FM, you were talking about wanting to do positive things in the community, and you have, and so it's great that you're behind this as well to really support doing something that is that supports those of us in the community that are going through hard times, and it can be, and there's so many different ways that hard times can manifest in one's life. Again, like I was saying before, you don't necessarily have to have lung cancer or a lung disease or whatever. I mean, there's just so many different ways that we want to be able to support you. And if you have a story and if you are just tuning in, if you have a story that is inspiring, or somebody, maybe a neighbor or a relative or a friend that has a great story, please reach out to them, or if it's your story, reach out to us. Let us know about it, and we'd love to hear from you. And once we start to build this and grow it, hopefully we'll have a little more support. I know, Todd, you do a lot of work to field a lot of questions, and there's some other folks on staff doing that too, as well as myself at times. And so we'll try to get to your input as soon as we can, but would love to hear from you and like to talk to you more about telling your story and supporting those that are dealing with these serious issues in life.
Renee says she's praying for you. And
thank you.
A number of people offering prayers for you right now.
Well, thank
too,
you all.
so.
Thank you. And that's something that it's been a real humbling thing for me. There's been so many people that have been praying, so many wonderful people that have come out and support me in this during this time. And Renee, that could very well be my sister. My sister and brother-in-law have been out here. They came out from Missouri. In fact, they showed up. They happened to be out already on the road in their RV. They're retired, and they were in Texas. And when they found out that I had cancer, they changed their plans and they made their way out here. And they've been out here since the 5th, I believe it was. When I had just gotten into the hospital, they got out here that night, and in their RV. They do a lot of RVing now, and so they've been out here since that whole time, and they'll be here for the rest of this month and into April, they do have to go back and get some, taxes done and things that they need to do back at home. But they've been very supportive. Thank you so much, Renee and Dave, for all the support that you've had. The folks at my church at Shiloh, where I go, they've been very supportive. I just want to thank Pastor E, Pastor Eric. He's been so great with, and just folks that I go to a group out there I'm a part of, and Gloria and Carolyn and Alicia and so many others that have been so supportive. It's just been, it's really been touching for me to see the kind of support that has been coming out from not just church, but also other members. I mean, this is the first time, Todd, I haven't told a lot of people about this. So this is kind of, going to be news to a lot of people that I know. And I apologize, I haven't had a chance to talk to too many people. It's been really busy. It's been, when you end up in a situation like this, you've got so many doctor's appointments, you've got so much that's going on, and then you're dealing with, other things. I mean, you got to be responsible. You got to, so for me with faith is, and you believe in God, you have to, it's like Jesus, when he was facing being crucified on the cross, he prayed to Father, if it's possible, let this cup pass from me. But nonetheless, your will be done, not mine. For Jesus, his cup did not pass. He had to go through that. There was not a way around it. And so that can be a possibility in life too. Maybe 3 to 5 months from now, I won't be around. That's something I have to accept as well, because if that's God's will for sure and he won't change his mind, I've got to be good with that and know that there's a reason for that. But if he's willing, I know he's able. And if it's possible, then I'm praying that, hey, that this cup that I'm in, that I'll be able to get out of it, or at least have a reprieve and be able to do more, I guess, with my life. Because that's one thing, I guess, Todd, when, you ask about what's it like to get a diagnosis like that, in reflection, probably the biggest regret that I have, because you definitely reflect back in your life and you start thinking, okay, well, how much more life do I have? And furthermore, what can I do with the life that I do have? What did I not do up to this point? What can I do with what I have left? And I feel like that really the positive things, really sharing things about, things that matter to me, like God, that's important in life. And I wish I would have been more, not so selfish in life, not so self-centered, living just for myself. Yeah, and I know that's a culture that, that's a certain culture out there that tells us we should live for ourselves. But the irony is that when we actually serve other people, when we do stuff for others, we get more fulfillment out of life for ourselves when we actually serve other people and do stuff for others. That's where you find the true joy in life. It's one of the areas, certainly, and it's when you do good things, it's when you help out, is when you really feel like you're making a difference for the better. And you have this feeling that's like no other feeling. When you know that you made a difference in somebody's life that really needed that support that you offered. And so that's what I regret most, that I haven't done more of that. And so that's what I'm going to try to do. And that's why I want to make the most of what I do have. And so share stories of inspiration. Because we can all use it from time to time. With that, I'm going to have another shot of beer. Ginger beer, that is. Non-alcoholic. But I think we can use it. We can all use it from time to time. And I've got some life left. How much time? I don't know. But I do have some. And so I want to make a positive impact and try to help you if you're one of those that are struggling. If you're one of those people that are going through a tough time, hey, I'm here for you. And I know God's here for you too. I know that. I just know that. And if we can share those kind of stories on Cool FM, and if we can let people know there is hope, I know I think I would have been dead by now if I hadn't stopped drinking. I think that would have taken me out years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but God took that away. And so so things can happen. Things can happen in a real positive way, but you have to be open to it. You have to really look for it. And it's not always easy to be positive. It's not always easy. There's a lot of negative stuff in this world, and there's a lot of tough things that we can deal with from time to time. It doesn't make it easy to be positive all the time, but it certainly, makes life more bearable, because when I find myself thinking about the negative sides, and especially it's been a little tough lately with the hair falling out, but in the big scheme of things, losing the hair is something that I think I'll find a better part of who I am through it, because it'll force me to look even more within myself, to challenge myself about who I am and what's important to me. And really, is it my hair that's the most important thing in my life? No, it's not. It's not. And so as I let go of that, it'll bring me into a deeper understanding about what's important, I think, in life for me. Anyway. So, yeah, it's not always easy, but what gives me, when I think about the tough things, and I focus on what's important, it brings me back to reality. I've been blessed with great parents, some great sister, great brother, family members, some great friends. I have great adopted family that I've had. Winston in the past. I still have Hannah. She's actually out in the car. She likes to go with me, especially now that it's just her and I. She's been pretty freaked out about me being gone, and she senses, she knows there's problems, obviously, that she's concerned, and but but those are the things that are important. The friends, the family, God, my adopted kids, waking up every day, having the ability to get up and make a difference in life. Those are the things that are important. And so I want to spend more time appreciating those things, being thankful for the good things in life. And I've had a lot of good experiences in my life. I mean, there's been a lot of bad things. There's been a lot of good things. And I can choose to think about either one. I choose to think about the good stuff, because those things put a smile on my face. Those things keep me going. When I start thinking about the negative, I start to go down. When I think about the positive, I start to go up. I want to just go up. That's the direction you want to go. So if I can help anybody along the way, and the funny thing is, when you help people, they help you. When you, like I said, when you dedicate yourself to serving other people, or even other animals, I'd love to see. A big thing for me is animal rescue as well. I'd like to do more in that area to help animals, dogs, cats, horses, you name it, to those that are in difficult situations in their own existence, to help them find a better way. And, and when you do that, it just helps you so much. When you like adopting these dogs, they became some of the most important things in my life. And I thought I was helping them. They were helping me too. So when we help each other, we go up. We feel better. We do better, and we get more out of life. So that's what I want to do, Todd. That's what I want to do is try to do more for others.
Well, we're going to allow you to do that here on Cool FM, moving forward with this new series that you want to do, focusing on incredible stories of hope and inspiration. And
Yes.
a lot of folks sending out their prayers and love for you in the chat, and we will be praying for you as well too. As a friend here, Brett, I love you, and
thank you, Todd.
We're going to try to get through this together here. You're in the.
We will. We'll do it. And you know, it's when we did the Chilling Show. That was the biggest, probably one of the biggest shows that have ever hit Duluth, Minnesota. And now, Todd, you've made a big thing here with Cool FM. You know, and I was just saying, let's try to make one last big thing together. And so that's what we're going to try to do is change the world, at least if it's just here, person by person, here in our own community, change the world for the better. And I believe that, Todd, that you've done that with Cool FM, and I'd like to do that as well. And I appreciate the platform that you built and that you are working with me on this. It's very humbling, and it means a lot to me. It's amazing how God works, because sometimes tears aren't just of sadness; they can be very tears of appreciation, tears of joy, that have a lot of meaning, but it's a positive thing, and so that's kind of what is choking me up right now. Is just all the prayers, all the thoughts of people, all the support. I'm really looking forward to doing these stories and learning more from other people about what they've gone through and how they've overcome, and supporting and hanging out. And maybe there's people out there that haven't overcome yet. You know, maybe you're just going through hard times and it's tough and there's no miracles yet. Hey, I want to hear from you too. I'm here to hear if there's anything I can do to help you. And prayer, just prayer. That's the biggest thing. And sometimes some of the best you can do, and sometimes you can't do anything but that. But that's so important to have faith and trust and just support each other with just prayer. Even that's all we can do, and that's a lot. And so, love to hear from you if there's anything I can do. And I hope to be the best neighbor that I can be too. And just grow through this, and so we'll do it together. We'll just do this. There's no scripts here, as you can tell. This is all real life, and so we're going to make the best of it, make the most of it. Looking forward to that.
All right, Brett. Thank you very much for taking the time to tell your story here, and we will be supporting you every step of the way here moving forward.
Thank you, and thank you all for tuning in. Really appreciate you taking the time out and your prayers of support and your well-wishing is it means a lot to me, and I want to thank you for that. And I hope you have a great evening.